What's going on, everybody? It is Juan from The Refined Jet. So, I hear some of you guys want to join the military. You're looking up maybe different recruiters, you're looking at different branches of service, and you're trying to see which one's right for you, as well as different jobs and things like that. Now, there's a lot of information out there on things that you should watch out for, how to prepare. Well, this video is not going to be really on that. This video is going to be on things you should definitely consider when joining the military. A lot of it is things that are not really talked about, but things that a lot of times I see really make or break careers. Now, for those of you that don't know, I was a U.S. Marine from 2010 through 2017. I spent the first couple years as an avionics technician, and then after that I did embassy security in 4 different countries. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it. All right, so congratulations. You decided, all right, maybe I want to take this next step in my life, and I'm going in with an open mind, or whatever the case may be. Well, guys, here's the other thing. Joining the military, regardless of whether you just join for one enlistment and you think, all right, I'm going to take the easy route. Sorry, guys, but Air Force or Navy or whatever. I got friends in the Air Force and Navy, so don't shit on me. But if you think, all right, I just want to do that, maybe take an admin job and then just get out and collect my GI Bill, all right, that's on you. But you should still consider many things when joining, all right? Still, joining the military is a life-changing experience. A lot of times you're going to go through things that you probably just never expected. There's a lot of things that go on that people don't really talk about or just not really widely known. So one of the main things you should definitely consider whenever you're joining the military, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if you're trying to do it for one enlistment or you're trying to make it a career, is you got to see what your short, medium, and long-term goals are. And just FYI, guys, these may change. The way I thought about the things I thought about when I was 18 are pretty different now. As a matter of fact, I'm still kind of tweaking my goals a little bit, and that's fine. Don't worry about it if that's the case. But you want to see what you want to do. If your goal is to go to college or go to trade school or something, basically see what you can do and how the military can work in your favor for that. Or if you don't really care about the military working in your favor, you want to do your service to your country, your patriot, whatever the case might be. All right, that's fine. Just make sure you know what you're doing, because a lot of guys go in basically like chickens without heads running around. They go open contract, which I personally do not suggest. I know guys that wanted to do all these different things. I know guys that wanted to be grunts and they got stuck doing admin work and they hated their lives. And yeah, so guys, just see what your goals are. Like I said, these may change over time, but try to be consistent. Try to accomplish them. Do the necessary steps to complete to complete those goals. All right. All right, so by now you probably already know that the only branch of service is not the Army. All right, there's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard if you want to count that as military service. So you got to see which one goes more with you. You got to see what jobs are that branch offers, if it's even available. Because I knew a guy that he said, oh, I want to be a Marine. I think I have the spirit for it. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? I want to be a doctor. I'm like, well, we don't have doctors in the Marine Corps. We use the Navy doctors. So guys, be really careful with this, okay? Make sure to do your research and also talk with the different recruiters. Now, recruiters, their job is to get you in. They try to come out as friendly and everything, and I had a great recruiter, but make sure that you talk with all these recruiters. Make sure you talk to people who are in the military, who are in that particular branch of service that you want to be in, and maybe even that have the job that you want to take, and see if this goes with you. A lot of guys go in and they just they go in almost blindly. That's a horrible mistake. So make sure that this branch of service that you want to get into, if it aligns with you and it aligns with your personality, because every branch of service is a little bit different. They have, obviously every branch of service you're going to have a lot of different people, so a lot of different personality types, but certain jobs require certain personality traits out of somebody. So just make sure that you get into the branch of service that best fits yourself, your personality, and your goals. All right, next up, and this one is kind of obvious, but a lot of people don't really think about it too much, and that is, well, you got to see what you qualify for and what you want to do. So to get into the military, you got to do the ASVAB, and that's basically a test that you got to take, in which it shows what you can do, like if you're good at math, if you're good at grammar, whatever. So you got to see what you want to do and everything, and what you think is going to be your passion in the military, and you got to see if you even qualify for it. If those don't coincide, then yeah, you're kind of shit out of luck, buddy. So that means you got to take the ASVAB again, do it. But you might want to be very realistic with what you want to pick. I chose to be an avionics technician, and I found out later that I just really didn't like that job, and I did something else afterwards. But I qualified for it. I actually wanted to be a mechanic, and that did not happen. I didn't have the score high enough for that. So just something to think about, guys. Just make sure that you get what you qualify for, and also if it's even available. If that means you got to wait a little bit, do it. But just make sure that if you actually want to make the military work for you and actually have a good time and do what you want to do, and make sure that you actually qualify for it and it's even available. All right, next up, and this one, like I said, can make or break your career. I know a lot of people that, especially now with I think like mental health being a big issue in the military, a lot of times it has to do with relationships. A lot of people don't talk about this. Do not believe the bullshit you see on the movies, in which it's like this romantic type of environment. Especially if guys. You have to understand that I'm only speaking from experience as a Marine. A lot of times you're going to be in a place there's not much to do. There's not a whole lot of wife material to go around. It's basically like 15 guys for every one woman. So kind of do the math. If affairs are really common, I know a lot of spouses are probably going to get really mad, but I'm sorry, not sorry, really. The stereotypes exist for a reason. I witnessed it firsthand. You got to be really careful with the relationships that you have, and you got to see if your high school sweetheart that you're really passionate about and you're gonna live happily ever after, if you really think that being with her or him, whatever you're into, is really worth enough to either make your entry into the military or not. Like I said, guys, a lot of times relationships can be very tough. I know I went through a couple. It's not easy. You can't see each other whenever you want. Unless if you get married, you can't live together, especially if you're an enlisted person. There's a lot of shit that goes into it. A lot of people get very disheartened. A lot of people go through some very severe depression. They found out that their significant other cheated on them, or they got dumped, and they get really upset. And obviously, like I said, mental health is a big thing nowadays. So you need to be really careful. You really see what your relationship is like. If really being with this person is very important to you, and you don't want to risk it, then probably joining the military is not for you, especially if you're an enlisted guy. Like I said, you're going to be busy, you're going to be going to different places. I got moved around a lot. I went from one place to the other every couple months. It was frustrating. It was fun for a while, but it was frustrating. It really took its toll. And actually, at the time, I was single, so that was a good thing. But really, guys, just you gotta really dig deep, because a lot of people, man, they screw up their careers over relationships. They get into the wrong one. I knew one guy, he went AWOL and to be with his girlfriend or whatever. It's just, come on, guys. Really value what's important, and see if your relationship in the military coincide. If not, then you got to pick one or the other. You can't pick both. All right, next thing you really got to consider, and this is something that is prevalent in any branch. I don't care what it is. Understand nothing is certain. A lot of things happen in the military. We had a saying in the Marine Corps called "Semper Gumby," which means always flexible. Understand everything is pretty much written in sand. Things change all the time. Your duty station's not always gonna be 100% certain. Sometimes you think you're gonna go somewhere, you end up going somewhere else, which kind of ties into the whole relationship thing. Don't promise too much. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about that because I'll be here all day. Just understand that, yeah, nothing is certain. A lot of times people get all worked up in their heads. They think that they're going to go somewhere, they're going to do something. Turns out it's something different. So if you're somebody that you can't handle the uncertainty, you can't handle change, you can't handle certain aspects of it, don't join the military because, my friend, you are going to be in a world of fucking hurt. All right, next up, understand the risks you run. I'm not just talking about going to combat and dying or whatever. A lot of people, they get into alcoholism. I know I kind of did. I did my best to kick the habit, and I did. But yeah, understand that, you know, a lot of places you're gonna go to, they're gonna be isolated. There's not gonna be a whole lot to do. Remember, alcoholism is a pretty big aspect of the military. Unfortunately, substance abuse has also been like an open secret in the military. You might not want to overstress your body too much because navigating the VA is a pain in the ass. And I know guys that with clear problems, physical problems that they acquired while they were in the military, and the military keeps fucking them. And then somebody that doesn't have a service-related injury pretty much got 100%. So just be really careful with that. Understand those risks. You know, which kind of ties into understand nothing is certain. So understand that, like I said, you're not always going to get what you want. So just something to keep in mind. All right, next thing, and tying into your goals really is your MOS, your military occupational specialty? I don't know what the other services call it. That's what we call it in the Marine Corps. And is it going to be useful to the civilian sector? So one problem that a lot of guys have, and I know because I face this myself, is your job going to be useful to you when you get out? If you're, a lot of veterans run into this problem, and I'm going to make another video on why veterans a lot of times struggle to find jobs, but understand that just because you served, most people really don't give a shit, and that's just the truth. I mean, everybody says we support veterans, we love veterans, cool. It's not always going to give you a job. If you're not qualified for that job, you're probably not going to get it. That's just the God honest truth. So really see if the job that you want to have while in the military, if you can apply that outside, okay, and if it's even going to give you any kind of money. So if you're somebody that you just want to do your time in the military and get out, if you want to do infantry and leave and do something else, go to college, whatever the case might be, cool. But a lot of guys expect that when they get out that they're going to make all this money, they're going to find great jobs, and then they figure out that that's not what happens. I kind of thought that too. I did all these different things, and I thought, okay, well, when I get out, I shouldn't have too much of a problem. And it turns out it was a lot harder than I thought. I had a lot of rejection. I had a lot of people say, "Oh, wow, we love we love what you've done, but we're not hiring you." So understand this, guys. If you're serious, if you want to have that job security or whatever the case might be, you might want to pick something that you can use on the outside. If not, then you might have to learn a new skill when you leave the military, which is something a lot of guys for some reason don't feel like doing. So kind of tying into this last point, what are your plans after you get out of the military? That's one of the many things you got to consider. Obviously it's not a good idea to go into something, or it's not a common practice to go into something like the military and already thinking about what you're going to do when you get out. But it's just a fact of life, guys. Most people only do one term, one enlistment, whatever you call it. So a lot of people go in and they don't think about the next step. They go in and they say, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. And then they kind of get themselves in a rut. Some people get married and have kids, which is something I don't really advise, especially if you're a junior enlisted guy. Some people they get into trouble, they get into all this debt, whatever the case might be. They didn't prepare themselves mentally for what might happen if they have to leave, if they get injured, whatever the case, whatever happens. I mean, the options are endless. So you got to really ask yourself what you want to do with your life afterwards, which goes into the goals also. So if you don't have at least a tentative plan, if you're a young guy or girl, you're 18, you say, okay, I want to do the military, and then afterwards, well, what? Okay, well, maybe go to school, trade school, university, whatever. At least this gives you time to think and to form your path a little bit, but really have a plan for when you get out, because if not, a lot of people run into trouble, and then that's when a lot of guys, they either try to get back in, which a lot of times, at least in the Marine Corps, a lot of times they don't get accepted back. A lot of guys get into financial trouble. A lot of guys get into drugs. Not everybody. I'm not trying to say that this is like a vet or just a veteran issue, but I've known a lot of guys who really struggled. I knew a lot of guys that also just they really reverted to some really shitty, like ultra right wing type of mentality and everything, and it almost to the point where it just didn't even make sense. So this is something you guys got to really take into consideration, is what your plan is after you get out of the military, because it is going to affect you. It is going to be an issue when you get out. I'm telling you, adapting back to civilian life is not always as easy as you may think. So keep this in mind, guys. All right, last and certainly not least, one of the many things you should consider when you're joining the military is understand that your purpose in the military is to be of service to the country, and obviously to the service, to your unit, whatever the case might be. Not to do what you want. A lot of guys get this mistaken. They think they're Billy Badass. They think, oh, whatever, I'll take vacation whenever I want. I can see my girlfriend. I can do whatever. All right. A lot of guys get in their head and they think that they can do what they want. Not the case at all, guys. Understand that you joined something that is higher than yourself. Okay, you joined for a higher purpose. You wanted to be a part of a unit, a team, whatever the case might be. All right. So if that means that your leave gets denied, if that means that you can't go and do what you want to do and always take the job that you want and all these other things, if you can't stomach that, do not join the military, because it's not the place for you. A lot of people get really disheartened by this. Understand that your uniform means something, and if you're not ready for that, if you're all about yourself, you're individualistic, you're gonna have some problems. This is just the truth, guys. All right, that uniform, that flag means something. That branch of service means something. Even for especially the Army and some of the other services, that pin, that means you're a part of a unit, you're a part of a job, whatever. That means something. So if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready to put a lot of your personal aspirations and goals and needs and wants aside for your branch of service, don't join the military, guys. All right, guys, so that is it. These are the things that you should definitely consider when joining the military. I did this video because these are some things that I really don't think a lot of people talk about. I think a lot of people really just say, things that you consider, time away from home, family, the physical part, the mental part, blah, 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 blah. Very important. You definitely need to do this. But things that I really need you to consider are these, because these are things that I don't think really are talked about, and these are things that I see a lot of times that get people in trouble. They get people into a rut. They get people really disheartened with the military or whatever the case might be. And I think that you should really take a lot of these things into consideration. All right, guys. So that is it for today. I'll see you in the next video.